Ah, yes, Spider-Man 4, the lost Spider-Man movie we almost got until it was eventually canceled. Because, of course, we got Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, but it wasn't supposed to originally just be a trilogy. There was supposed to be a fourth movie, and a 5, and a 6. Like, there was a multi-film plan other than just that trilogy, but due to creative differences between Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi, and Sony, it just didn't end up working out. And Spider-Man 4 was canceled, and of course, Spider-Man was rebooted with Andrew Garfield in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. But now, of course, people have grown up with these films, with the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. It's been a part of our culture for 20 years now. Like, it's crazy. And now, obviously, of course, seeing Tobey Maguire return to the big screen of Spider-Man last year in Spider-Man No Way Home, that's a pretty big deal. And, with that return, same thing goes for Andrew Garfield, but everybody wants him to come back for more. And everybody's like, oh, we should get TASM 3, we should get Spider-Man 4, finally give us those next movies in those franchises. And, between the two, I've always said that, TASM 3 is more likely than Spider-Man 4. And I still think that that is definitely the case. I kind of doubt that we will ever get a Spider-Man 4, not only just because of, like, just timing and everything like that. But also, I don't know if Tobey Maguire would even want to do a Spider-Man 4. But I know that one of the biggest pitches for that is that people want to see, Peter, MJ, they're grown up, they're married now, they have a daughter, Mayday Parker, and she is now Spider-Girl. So, I mean, that would be really one cool way to go about doing it. But today we got some interesting news about Spider-Man 4 and the original plans for it. So I decided, you know what, let's just do a whole video breaking down what the original plans were for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4 and where his journey would have gone after Spider-Man 3. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So, of course, we know that this film was going to open up with a cool little montage of Spider-Man. He's just enjoying life as Spider-Man, and he's taking down a bunch of bad guys, and it would basically be like a little bit of a joke scene where you get to see a bunch of obscure Spider-Man villains that basically Sam Raimi never would have used as a main villain in a future movie. So this, of course, included Mysterio, who we know is going to be played by Bruce Campbell. Of course, he had cameos in the first 3 Spider-Man movies and was going to make another cameo in Spider-Man 4 and be revealed that that character was actually Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, which honestly, I think that would have been pretty awesome. I mean, Bruce Campbell's Mysterio, that's great casting right there. And but obviously we saw, Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home, saw how good of a villain, like the potential that he had to be a villain, the main villain of a movie. So for him to just be used as a throwaway Joker, that would have been kind of disappointing. I mean, you make him into like a fat guy just for a joke at the beginning of the movie, that would have been kind of disappointing, but still, I like the idea, especially the whole Bruce Campbell's Mysterio thing. But this scene was also going to be featuring some other super, well, not really obscure Spider-Man villains, but just lower level Spider-Man villains that Sam Raimi didn't think had the potential to be big bads. Characters like the Shocker, and apparently also, according to the storyboard artist, even Stiltman. So Stiltman was going to make his cinematic debut in Spider-Man 4. Man, what a missed opportunity. But hopefully, fingers crossed, MCU, one day we can get some Stillman. Or you know what? Sony, while they're at it with like Venom and Kraven the Hunter and Morbius, give us a Stiltman movie. That is what the fans want right there. But our main villain of this movie was, of course, going to be the Vulture. Adrian Toomes, who, of course, years later we did actually get as the main villain of Tom Holland's Spider-Man Homecoming. But Vulture was already set to make his cinematic debut all the way back in the early 2000s for Spider-Man 4. I believe around like 2011 was when they're supposed to come out. But yeah, so Vulture, we have some official concept art storyboards here of Vulture, kind of his basic design for the film. He looks really cool, really comics accurate, of course different from what we got with MCU Vulture with Michael Keaton, the more mechanical robotic suit design. This is much more comics accurate with like actual wings and feathers type thing going on there. But Vulture, of course, was going to be played by John Malkovich. They already had him signed on to play the character. John Malkovich, great character, so great actor, so I would have loved to have seen him take on the role of the Vulture, because I mean, he's definitely got the look for it. I mean, bald guy, old bald guy, he could be the Vulture. I think that would have been pretty awesome. And it is kind of disappointing we never got to see that come to fruition. But then another thing in this movie, the kind of secondary main villain, or possibly even true main villain, we were going to be getting Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat. And originally she was supposed to be played by Anne Hathaway. So Anne Hathaway was signed on to play Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat. And actually this big news that just came out today that kind of inspired me to make this video is that it's now come out that Angelina Jolie was originally the first one to be signed on to play that character of Felicia Hardy, but then somehow ended up being Anne Hathaway. I think I prefer Anne Hathaway as Black Cat anyway, but Angelina Jolie as Felicia Hardy Black Cat, that's definitely an interesting choice as well, especially considering the big twist that was supposed to be revealed in the movie. And I feel like maybe Angelina Jolie fits in better as John Malkovich's daughter. But yeah, that was supposed to be the big twist and reveal, is that actually Felicia Hardy in this universe was the daughter of Adrian Toomes the Vulture, and about halfway through the movie, John Malkovich's Adrian Toomes Vulture would have died. But no, the movie would not be over, because then Felicia Hardy would go from being the Black Cat to then adopting the Vulturess mantle, and she would become the new Vulture, which always hearing about these plans and these ideas for Spider-Man 4, I thought was a stupid idea. So I'm kind of glad we didn't get this. But it would have been awesome to see a Black Cat in this universe. I just think it would have been weird for her to turn into the Vulturess, which is not a character from the comics. It would have been a completely original idea for this film, which, I mean, yeah, you can give that to Sam Raimi. Like, it's definitely an original idea. It's very unique, but I didn't want to see it. So there's that. And then also, apparently, this is something I just found out about today, but apparently Electro was also supposed to be in Spider-Man 4 with a similar design to what he had on the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, which, I mean, that sounds amazing. I don't really know how they could have fit Electro into this film with everything else going on here. I mean, just the Vulture and Vulturess stuff alone, but like, on top of the Mysterio and that whole scene and everything that's going on with Peter and MJ, which apparently MJ wasn't going to be involved here. I don't know, it's super confusing. But this would have been awesome, though, because this has always been my big dream for Electro in the big screen. Obviously, we saw Jamie Foxx's Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and his return in Spider-Man No Way Home. But I mean, he had a great design there, but what I've always wanted to see from Electro in live action is a design based on his design from the Spectacular Spider-Man, because it's super comics accurate, yet realistic at the same time. Because, you know, in the comics, he's wearing a full-on flamboyant green and yellow spandex skin-tight suit with a yellow lightning bolt starfish mask on. Like, that does not look realistic or menacing at all. And like I said, we got a version of that in No Way Home when Jamie Foxx's Electro with the kind of starfish Electro mask popping up there, except in the form of electricity. And that's kind of what goes on here with Electro and Spectacular Spider-Man, where he's just wearing like a green suit that's supposed to like keep his electricity contained there, and he's got like tubes going around and everything. So really cool design there, but then especially with his head, where it is just pure electricity, pure energy, there's just all haywire and stuff, so that it doesn't make the form of a head. It's just like all crazy and random, and does kind of emulate that design of the spiky starfish Electro mask from the comics, which I've always loved that design. So to see that was going to be adapted for this film, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed we never got that. But then maybe that would have meant that we never would have gotten to see Jamie Foxx's Electro in those other two films as well. So anyways, guys, that is Spider-Man 4. Those were Sam Raimi's original plans for Spider-Man 4. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, where his story was going to go next. It's definitely interesting and kind of crazy to think that, like, imagine if this movie actually came out. And it's kind of a shame that we never got to see this. But then again, you know, the whole Vultures thing, there's parts of this that would have been weird. And, you know, I'm glad things happened the way they did with moving on to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and everything. I'm glad all that happened. But it definitely would have been awesome and crazy to think about, like, what if we got Mysterio back in the early 2000s? What if we got Vulture back then? What if we actually got Felicia Hardy, Black Cat on the big screen, like, literally ever? I mean, we kind of got Felicia Hardy in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but like to actually see Black Cat, especially with like Anne Hathaway or possibly even Angelina Jolie, that would have been awesome. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. What do you think about these original plans for Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4? Would you have liked to have seen this film? Do you wish we got to see this? And would you like to possibly even see maybe a version of this today with Tobey Maguire returning once again for Spider-Man 4? But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.